Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to open a book that's also a kind of bridge, a bridge built across centuries, connecting two very different lives in their search for something we all look for. Let's step into the beautiful world of the 40 Rules of Love.
Just let that sink in for a moment. This right here is the mystery that sparks our entire story. It's this idea of a powerful, transformative connection that's just waiting to be found, not just in some faraway past, but right here in our own lives today. A tale of two hearts. And that's exactly what this is. It's a story told in two parts, like two songs playing at the same time. We're following two people, separated by 800 years, but they are both heading towards a destiny that will change everything. A truth that, well, only love can really show them. So here are our two worlds, side by side. On one hand, you've got the quiet, predictable suburbs of modern-day Massachusetts, and on the other, the loud, vibrant, spiritually charged city of Konya back in the 13th century. They couldn't be more different on the surface, but underneath it all, they're both haunted by that same deep human feeling, that there has to be something more to life. Okay, so let's jump into our first timeline and meet Ella. She's a woman who, from the outside looking in, seems to have a perfect life. Ella's life is, well, it's carefully built. She has a loving family, a nice home, everything seems to be in its right place. But as she gets closer to her 40th birthday, this quiet ache starts to bubble up. You know the feeling? It's this realization that while she was busy building this perfect life for everyone else, a really important part of her own self got lost somewhere along the way. And then, almost out of nowhere, a manuscript shows up. It's a novel she's been hired to read for work. And as she starts to read, this one question just lights up in her mind. And that question, it's the first tiny crack in the life she's always known, an invitation to imagine what could be instead of just what is. And this brings us to the story inside the story. Because as Ella reads, we get pulled back in time with her, all the way to 13th century Konya. And there, we meet two incredible men whose friendship would literally change the course of poetry and spirituality forever. Now, these two men are complete opposites. On one side, you have Rumi. He's a famous scholar, a man of logic, tradition, and immense respect. And then, in walks Shams of Tabriz. And he's a whirlwind, a wandering mystic who doesn't follow any rules except the ones his heart gives him. Remember that quote about fire and water? Well, here you have it. Shams basically shows up and challenges everything Rumi believes. He's saying, look, your brain can build some amazing things. It can create order and logic, but only love can break down those walls and show you what's truly real. This isn't just a friendly debate, you guys. It's a spiritual earthquake. When worlds collide, and believe me, they do. This earthquake doesn't just shake Rumi's world. Oh no. The arrival of Shams sends ripples out across the entire city, pulling in all sorts of different people, each one of them representing a little piece of the human soul. First, there's the killer. He's an assassin, a man just haunted by his past. He's been hired by people who think Shams is a heretic that needs to be silenced. But when he meets this dervish, he's going to have to face the darkness inside himself. Then you have the zealot. He's a religious teacher who is absolutely convinced he sees sin everywhere. To him, Shams isn't bringing love, he's bringing chaos. He represents that fear that always pops up when a message of radical love threatens the established order. And then, in the shallows of the city, we meet Desert Rose. She's been cast out by society, judged by everyone. But when she hears what Rumi and Shams are teaching, she feels a little flicker of hope. For the first time maybe, she sees a way to heal. And finally, there's Babar's the warrior. To him, life is just a fight. You have to be strong, you have to be cunning. This whole idea of love and surrender, he sees it as weakness, a dangerous fantasy, in a world that he knows is brutal. So back in Massachusetts, as Ella is turning the pages and reading about all these people, the killer, the zealot, the outcast, the warrior, something amazing starts to happen. They stop being just characters in a book. She starts seeing little bits of them in her own world, and even more terrifying, inside herself. That old story becomes a mirror. And this gets us to the very heart of it all, the 40 Rules of Love. Now, let's be clear. These aren't rules like, don't do this, don't do that. They're more like gentle invitations, 40 ways of looking at the world and at yourself with a little more love. This is one of the biggest ideas in the whole book. It's saying stop trying to put love into neat little boxes. Is it spiritual love, romantic love? It doesn't matter. Love is this huge, unifying force that just erases all the lines we try to draw. The story also takes concepts that we might misunderstand and flips them. Take the word submission. For a lot of us, that sounds like weakness, right? But here, it's totally reframed. It's about having a deep inner strength, the strength to accept life as it is and flow with it, instead of constantly fighting it. And you see these core themes everywhere. Letting go of the ego, finding strength in your pain, embracing the unknown. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Rumi giving up his pride as a scholar, or Ella facing a future she can't control. The story shows us again and again that real growth comes from surrender, not from trying to be in charge. Love's timeless echo. This is where it all comes together so beautifully. You start to see how everything that happened in the 13th century is echoing directly into Ella's life right now. The lessons are truly timeless. So Ella, inspired by this story, inspired by the love she finds in her own life, she makes a choice, a huge, brave choice. She leaves her predictable life behind and follows her heart. And that journey leads her literally to the very same city where Rumi and Shams walked all those centuries ago. And this is the wisdom she finally finds, the lesson she truly lives. She stops being trapped by the past or anxious about the future. She finally learns how to just live in the now, which, of course, is the only place life is actually happening. And so the book leaves us with this. It turns that mirror around and points it right at us. It asks each of us to think about our own lives. Every day, with everything we do, we're making a choice. So what are we adding to the world? In the end, though, this is a story about hope. It's a reminder that love is like a river. It's an endless current. It might change its course, it might show up where you least expect it, but it never, ever runs dry. It just waits patiently for a new heart to open up.